What happened to Warzone, man? The first edition of Warzone was the biggest turning point in Call of Duty's franchise. During the COVID pandemic, we were all locked inside. It was a crazy time for the world, but Warzone was released on March 10th of 2020. This was a perfect time to release the game because this was like right around the time we went into lockdown. And so everyone congregated on this game and it really brought everyone together. I mean, even before COVID, Battle Royales have just taken over gaming recently. Fortnite completely changed gaming whenever it came out, and the Battle Royale genre just took over. So whenever Call of Duty added Warzone into the game, people were really excited and interested to see what the game was, and Warzone did not disappoint. When the game was released, within the first 72 hours, there was 15 million players that had logged in to try out the game. The new map Verdansk was added, and it was a new and spacious map that was great for Warzone's playstyle. With Battle Royales, there's a lot of times where you aren't fighting people constantly, and so you're waiting a decent amount of time before you find another team to fight. But Warzone had an idea for that. They added contracts into the game, so while waiting for a fight, you could do different contracts which would get you money, and you'd be able to buy different things at the buy station. It was just a really unique aspect outside of like the normal player versus player, and I thought it made the game a lot more fun. Initially, the pace of Warzone was not like what it was towards the end of the game because people were so cracked at the end of the game, but playing the game whenever it initially came out was a lot less hectic. It was a lot more peaceful. Verdansk just had a lot of good POIs in it. The map felt very balanced. It was overall well received from the community. I mean, think about landing at like Boneyard or the airport, even landing at Stadium. Some of these places were just super fun to land at, and it contributed to Warzone's success because you can see the game just kept growing all through 2020. Call of Duty started to innovate the game because you know what, Battle Royales, it could get pretty stale after a while. One of the things that I absolutely loved about Warzone 1 were the bundles that they added to the game. I think the aesthetic of the game contributed to its success. Different integrations with Cold War and Vanguard. There was just so much access to different bundles, and the aesthetic of Warzone was just unmatched because there was just so many options to choose from when you actually hopped in the game and wanted to play. So that leads to whenever Cold War released, and Warzone did something a little interesting. They decided to integrate their content with Cold War for the first time in COD history. So now the things that you're using in Cold War, you could use in Warzone, which was originally based off of Modern Warfare 19, and it was just a really unique concept. Like weapons like the Krig, the XM4, the MAC-10, they were now accessible, but now your weapon pool has expanded even more, and I think the integration with Cold War was just genius. Right after Cold War released on November 13th, about a month later on December 16th of 2020, Call of Duty decided to innovate once again and added Rebirth Island. Resurgence is a game mode that matches the faster play style. You know, whenever you play multiplayer and you hop into hardpoint, I mean, the gameplay is so fast, you're just spawning and dying. And obviously Warzone is separate from multiplayer, but people still like, you know, the fast style of playing COD, especially with the movement mechanics in MWII with slide canceling and bunny hopping and all those different things that you could do. Rebirth was like just straight chaos, and people absolutely loved it. I definitely think Resurgence was a positive turning point for Warzone, and it changed the game. It was better for content. People were just posting Rebirth content. I think content was definitely like at an all-time high whenever Resurgence was out, and as you can see, the trend is just going upwards, and eventually within a year of the game's release, Call of Duty reaches 100 million active players. It just shows you how good the game was doing. When I think back to COVID and different times like that, I think about playing Warzone with all my friends. Despite it being such a stressful time for everyone, Warzone in 2020 was definitely one of the biggest highlights of my year, and I know a lot of people could say the same, and it was honestly released at the perfect time. Warzone also had a pretty unique storyline that led to the different maps that were being made. Originally, we had Verdansk, and then the map started to deteriorate and eventually got nuked, which led to the destruction of Verdansk event, and then Verdansk 84 was released in April of 2021. The older version of Verdansk had the community split on liking this map versus the old version, but regardless, from what I've seen, people just enjoyed the fresh change to the game. But let me know what you think about Verdansk 84. I'm really interested to see how people felt about this map. Some really cool bundles were released with Verdansk 84. Some bundles like the Scream bundle, Frank the Rapid, Disciple of Mayhem, the weapon skins were just as good. I remember I had a Krig that had like a dragon coming out of it. You see what I mean, man? The bundles were just so good. By October 2021, the concurrent player count was around 300,000, which was really good for the game. But then Call of Duty Vanguard releases, and where Call of Duty started innovating, whenever Vanguard was released, it felt like they started de-innovating. That's definitely not a word. You get what I mean. The first integration with Cold War was good, but whenever Vanguard came out, it felt like they took a step backwards because Warzone's primary map was now changed again to Caldera. Compared to the other one, it was just way too open. There was way too much open room, and it always felt like you were fighting an uphill battle. Vanguard's gun really changed the gunplay in Warzone. Now you had like the STG, the Owen gun, the PPSH. Those are only some of them. Like, the Vanguard guns were extremely overpowered, and alongside the pretty large map, the flow of the game completely changed. That's not to say that it just like completely crumbled or anything like that, because people were still playing the game even up until Warzone 2 came out. CoD Warzone stayed very much alive, and I mean, content was pretty much just like movement god videos, like Jay Coochie and Joe O and different people like that. And I mean, with the movement mechanics and with Rebirth and all that kind of stuff, it felt like the game was just in a very good direction. So naturally, people had very high expectations for Warzone 2. Overall, Warzone 1 was a great success for the CoD franchise, and it created a whole new bright era for CoD. It created so many great memories that people from the CoD community still reminisce on to this day. Warzone 2020 is just unmatched. But then we get Warzone 2. People had really high expectations for this game, and you know, people were excited because new features like proximity chat were released into the game. You know, people are just building hype on social media. People just wanted this game to be so good. I wanted this game to be really, really good. But when the game was actually released, multiplayer side of things and Warzone were very disappointing, to say the least. I mean, both sides of Call of Duty, Warzone and multiplayer, were receiving a lot of backlash at the end of 2022 because the game was just completely different. It was just a completely different pace of the game than we were used to. The movement system in the game was extremely slow. You couldn't even sprint up while plating. So literally, if somebody shot at you, you had to like essentially be stationary or just try and walk away while plating up. And it was clear that Call of Duty was kind of catering to the casual player base. You could see where the game development was going. It moved to a lot simpler mechanics. The game became very slow, and the skill gap became extremely small. Like, the time to kill was like playing multiplayer. You died so fast, it did not even feel like Warzone. This led to many people leaving the game, and I mean, you can see by this chart how many people actually left within the span of 2 months from its release. According to Steam charts in November 2022, it had 488,000 players, and then by January 2023, it dropped all the way down to 167,000. That's pretty crazy. Also, when the game released, it didn't feature Resurgence, which I thought was strange because that was such a staple in Warzone. But nonetheless, it did come out in February of 2023, and this is when Ashika Island was released. But at this time, I feel like the damage had been done. I mean, Resurgence definitely helped the game, and even around this time, Warzone 2 ranked play was released, which also led to a surge in content and players, but it was unable to maintain. And a lot of people actually gave up on the game, even on the multiplayer side of things. And I mean, the downfall of Warzone really speaks for itself. Like, Call of Duty will never die, but like Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 almost feel like they're chalked. You know, I always try and stay hopeful though, because you know, at the end of the day, I still love Call of Duty and I want to see it do well, but this complete change of pace just wasn't good for the game. With Ashika Island out though, people are still playing the game, content is still being made, but they have been trying to fix the game as best as they can. I mean, changes to movement have been added, like running while plating, which I thought should have been in the game off rip. Ranked mode came out, but honestly, hackers kind of ruined ranked play for a lot of players. So even though the start of Warzone 2 was very rough and put CoD in a really rough position, the developers are still making changes. On June 14th, 2023, alongside the Season 4 update, Vanguard was released as a new Resurgence map and added a fresh aspect to Warzone 2. I think Vanguard is a good addition to the map, and it has contributed to a surge in players. I mean, it hasn't been nothing crazy, but I mean, still like 10,000 extra players are playing according to Steam charts, which is the first rise in the player base in all of 2023. But now that we're in this position, there's a lot of questions about the future of Warzone. Modern Warfare 3 was announced to be released in November 2023 alongside a new Warzone map, but we still have a lot of questions about like the new Call of Duty. Like, I wonder if like Warzone 3 is going to come out. I don't know. I'm just really interested to see what they do. But in the meantime, you know, this is what we have to work with, and this is the current situation that Call of Duty is in. But I'm very thankful for the memories that Call of Duty Warzone has not only given me, but given so many other people. Because during COVID, like I said, when the world was in chaos, it just seemed like it brought us together and contributed to its insane run in 2020, 2021. And I hope that Warzone can do those numbers again one day. So, you know, we just got to stay hopeful for the game. But with that said, what is your favorite memory from Warzone? I'm really interested to hear about your different experiences on this game, because it really just created a whole new era for Call of Duty. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it if you made it all the way to the end. But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, peace.